30 teams, 30 center fielders, let's rank them using statistics. Starting off with number 30, I have Jose Azocar from the San Diego Padres. The only thing that stands out with him is his sprint speed, as it's in the 97th percentile. The problem is that he hasn't really been able to use that to help him in the field or on the base paths. He isn't a good hitter. He absolutely refuses to walk. He has a really big chase problem, and his chase rate was at 46%, meaning he's chasing at 46% of the pitches outside of the strike zone, which is really bad. Trent Grisham is not on the team anymore, which isn't a huge loss for the Padres, but they just have nobody exciting to fill that hole right now. At number 29 is Victor Robles of the Washington Nationals. He had some sort of back injury last year. He didn't play a lot. He was known for his elite defense at one point, but that has kind of fallen off by now. Offensively, he's never really been that good, and I highly doubt we'll see a breakout year from him in 2024. He has some of the worst underlying numbers that you can have to project a breakout. He's in the first percentile in hard hit rate and exit velocity, which is obviously not good. He's only 27 years old, which is younger than I thought he was at this point, but I just don't see anything happening here. Number 28 is Miles Straw for the Cleveland Guardians. Straw is pretty similar to Robles. Offensively, he's very bad. Not as bad though because he has better walk and strikeout numbers. Defensively, he's good, but just like Robles, he gets a lot of weak contact at the plate, which is not ideal. He did have a 3-WAR season in 2021 when he was about league average at the plate, but these past 2 years have been awful with a 67 and 69 WRC+. Number 27 is Esteury Ruiz from the Oakland Athletics. Yet another early appearance for the A's here, and it's not that surprising considering this team is not going to be good. He is good at one thing and one thing only, and that thing is base running. He put up 9.2 base running runs above average in 2023, which was the 4th best in the league. He stole 67 bases, second to only Ronald Acuna Jr. The problem is he doesn't get on base a whole lot to utilize this base running. He has a 4% walk rate, which is in the 2nd percentile, and he doesn't hit for too much contact either. This means that his on-base percentage is not going to be too high. He was a below-average defender last year as well, so even though he can use his speed on the bases, it hasn't translated to the defense yet. The offensive upside is just not there for Ruiz, and that is why he's coming in here at number 27. Number 26 is Johan Rojas representing the Philadelphia Phillies. He's very similar to Ruiz. He is a little worse on offense but better on defense. You might be saying he's not that bad on offense. He had a 109 WRC+ last year. That is correct, but the underlying numbers say that he should have been a whole lot worse and one of the worst hitters in the league based on the quality of contact he was making. His WOBA was nearly 70 points higher than his expected WOBA. If you watched any of the other rankings I've made, you can say it with me, he's getting lucky. If I had to guess for next season, he'll probably be sitting somewhere around 80 WRC+. The defense and base running are where his value is going to be at, which makes him better than the guys before him. Number 25 is Kyle Isbell for the Kansas City Royals. Keeping up with the theme here, Isbell is not good on offense, but makes up for it on the defensive side. He was in the 93rd percentile for fielding run value last season, which means he's one of the best defenders in the league. Center field is one of the more demanding positions in the league when it comes to defense, so that makes Isbell have some pretty good value. The problem is that he's not that good on offense. There are some bright spots like his low K rate and low whiff rate, meaning he makes a lot of contact, just the quality of that contact is not there. He's going to be 27 years old next year, so time is beginning to run out for a breakout season. Number 24 is Jake Meyers of the Houston Astros. Meyers is very good on defense, not elite, but he was in the 87th percentile in fielding run value. He's not a good hitter though. I would say he's better than Isbell and Rojas, and that's why I have him here, one spot above them. Very similar to Kyle Isbell, just a little bit better. Number 23 is Brenton Doyle from the Colorado Rockies. He won the Gold Glove for center field in the National League for a reason. He put up a 20 fielding run value, which was the best out of every single player in the league. He's in the 99th percentile for outs above average and in the 99th percentile for arm value. He has elite range, an elite arm. He's an elite center fielder. Now you might be asking yourself, how is he this low on the list if he's one of the best defensive center fielders of all time? Well, it's because he put up the 9th worst season since the turn of the decade at the plate with a 43 WRC+. And it wasn't because he was getting unlucky either. His WOBA is only 1 point off from his expected WOBA, so the quality of contact was just awful. Even though he's an elite defender, he's quite possibly the worst offensive starter in the entire league, which is why he's here at number 23. Number 22 is Alec Thomas representing the Arizona Diamondbacks. Above average on defense, offensively, he's better than the rest of these guys solely because he can actually hit the ball with a decent exit velocity. He had a 40th percentile exit velocity, which still isn't that good, but much better than the guys that I have talked about before. He doesn't walk at all, which limits his offensive production. He's only 24 years old, and I think his offensive ceiling is much higher than any of the other guys that we've already talked about. Number 21 is Mike Tochman for the Chicago Cubs. Tochman's offensive profile is headlined by his ability to get on base. He put up a 14% walk rate last season, which is in the 94th percentile. He doesn't chase, also doesn't hit the ball all that hard with a 32nd percentile exit velocity, contact-oriented hitter, and he's going to get on base a lot. Overall, he's probably going to be somewhere around league average hitting-wise in 2024. Defensively, he's probably not best suited in center field, but he's not awful. He's going to be playing there this year for the Cubs, and I have him here at number 21. Number 20 is Kevin Kiermaier from the Toronto Blue Jays. He's still got it when it comes to the defense. Obviously, that is what he's been known for his entire career. When it comes to the offense, he isn't going to do much. He doesn't hit the ball hard, 11th percentile exit velocity. He does have a decently low strikeout rate and a decently low chase rate, which does give him some sort of offensive value. The defense is what is carrying him, though. I don't really understand why the Blue Jays brought him back when they have essentially the same player but better in Dalton Varsho, and he's also younger. Move Varsho to center and get someone who can hit in left field, but they brought back Kiermaier. Those two aren't going to do a whole lot on offense, and Varsho's defense won't matter that much in left field. They did bring Kiermaier back. He's going to be playing center field, so have him here on this list at number 20. Number 19 is Parker Meadows for the Detroit Tigers. Meadows only played in 37 games last season, which was his first season in the majors at the age of 23, and he already showed what he is capable of, and that is playing great defense. He also has a great eye at the plate. He's had that all throughout the minors and showcased it in the majors last year. When it comes to everything else on offense, though, he's not really the greatest. He's 6'5", so he does have the raw frame to develop some sort of power down the road. He's only going to be 24 years old next year, so there is still plenty of time for him to grow as a hitter, but for now, his defense and speed will be the most of his value. I have him this high, though, because of the upside he has over the other guys below him, and the range of outcomes is a little bit wider than some of the other guys. Number 18 is Jackson Chourio for the Milwaukee Brewers. He's a top 5 prospect in the entire league. He already signed an extension with the Brewers, and he hasn't even played a game in the majors yet. He's that good of a prospect. In AA last year, he put up some good offensive numbers. Nothing too crazy, but still definitely good. The thing that gets you excited with Chourio is the unique power-speed combo that you see in guys like Julio Rodriguez and Ronald Acuna. He's only listed at 5'11", 165, so he's not exactly the most dominating presence, but he still generates a ton of bat speed. Is he going to be a star in 2024? Probably not, considering he's only going to be 20 years old and he's yet to play in the majors, but I think he's going to be pretty solid. I have him at number 18. Number 17 is Jose Siri from the Tampa Bay Rays. He's another defense-first guy, but on offense, he's also shown that he can make some quality contact. He had an 87th percentile barrel rate last season, meaning he's hitting the ball very hard at a good launch angle, albeit he doesn't make contact that often. He has a strikeout rate of 36%, really high, and a walk rate of 5.5%, which is really low. He was an above-average hitter last year, but that's going to be hard to sustain with those on-base numbers he put up. Making very little contact along with not walking is not a good recipe for the on-base percentage. The offensive upside, though, is higher than most of these guys below him because of that barrel rate, because of that exit velocity, and he's going to be one of the better defenders at the position, so the upside is there. It's just a question about the floor. Number 16 is Harrison Bader of the New York Mets. Bader is another great defender here, and I have him above Siri for the offensive consistency. The 70 WRC plus last year is a lot worse than the underlying stats suggest. His woven numbers say that he got pretty unlucky. I expect him to be closer to the 90 mark in terms of WRC plus in 2024. He doesn't strike out a lot, makes a lot of contact, which is good for a guy with his profile so he can utilize his speed. Just like Siri, though, he doesn't walk a whole lot. Bader doesn't hit for much power with just a 20th percentile barrel rate, but the lower strikeout rate along with the defense puts him up here at number 16. Number 15 is Jhin Duran for the Boston Red Sox. Some offensive regression is definitely expected with Duran. His woven numbers suggest that regression is coming his way, and he was getting pretty lucky in 2023. He's closer to league average defensively, unlike most of these guys on the list so far, but he does make up for it with his offense. His expected stats were pretty good with a 74th percentile expected batting average. He also hits the ball pretty hard with a 77th percentile hard hit rate and a 60th percentile exit velocity. Those underlying numbers are pretty good. He won't be as good as he was in 2023 most likely, but he will still be a solid offensive contributor in 2024. Number 14 is TJ Fredo representing the Cincinnati Reds. Yes, Fredo produced very well last season and somehow even got an MVP vote. How did that happen? I don't know. Definitely shouldn't have. He's not going to replicate this season though. The underlying numbers suggest that Fredo is a pretty bad hitter. He had an 11th percentile expected WOBA, a 2nd percentile expected slugging, and a 7th percentile barrel rate. These all mean that the quality of contact that Fredo was making wasn't really that good. Now I don't think he's just going to suck next year. He'll still be good defensively and will be okay offensively. I just think he's not going to replicate this 2023 season anytime soon. Number 13 is Tommy Edmund for the St. Louis Cardinals. Edmund played a combination between center field, shortstop, and second base last season. He's very good defensively at all three positions, and in 2024, Fangraphs projects that he will be the Cardinals' everyday center fielder. Edmund has been pretty consistent throughout his career so far. He's been slightly below league average when it comes to offense, making a lot of contact and avoiding strikeouts. When you combine that with his above average defense, he becomes an above average center fielder. You'll probably get more of the same from Edmund in 2024, a 2 to 3 WAR season. Number 12 is Cedric Mullins from the Baltimore Orioles. Mullins struggled with some injuries last season, so that could be an explanation for the down season, but it's hard to ignore some of these numbers. The biggest issue that has risen for Mullins since his 2021 breakout is his launch angle. In 2023, he had a 2nd percentile sweet spot percentage, meaning he's hitting either a lot of pop-ups or a lot of ground balls. When you look at his average launch angle of 21.6 degrees, you can see that pop-ups are the problem. 21.6 degrees is a really high average launch angle. He's just not hitting enough line drives. In 2021, his sweet spot percentage was in the 67th percentile, so it has fallen off a lot. Will Mullins bounce back in 2024? There is a chance, so I still have him ranked relatively high, but the expectations are definitely lower than they have been with Cedric Mullins. Number 11 is Leody Taveras for the Texas Rangers. He's an excellent defender, 92nd percentile in outs above average and 93rd in arm strength. Offensively, he put up a great season in 2023. The biggest success with him was lowering his strikeout rate from 32.4% in 2021 to 21.1% now in 2023. This allowed him to become a much more consistent hitter, and he started to hit the ball harder as well with a 65th percentile exit velocity. He's a great base runner to go along with it, and he uses his 92nd percentile sprint speed to get around the bases pretty well. He's only going to be 25 years old next year, so all signs point to him continuing his improvement offensively, and I think the ceiling is pretty high for Leody Taveras and the Texas Rangers. Speaking of high ceilings, at number 10 we have Jazz Chisum for the Miami Marlins. Chisum once again struggled to stay healthy in 2023, playing in only 97 games following a season that he only played 60 games in. The potential's definitely there. He hits the ball hard, he's good in the field, he strikes out a lot and doesn't walk. That's a pretty big problem. He's a big barrel guy though, with a barrel rate in the 79th percentile. This ranking is mostly just based on his traits and his potential, and if he puts up a full season, it could be very good, but we just kind of need to see that somewhat soon or else hope is going to be lost. Speaking of hope being lost, Byron Buxton is next at number 9. Apparently he's going to be back out at center field this year for the Twins. Is he going to get back to being good defensively? Well, his sprint speed last year was still very good in the 94th percentile, so he can still run well, so I don't see why he couldn't get back to the elite defense. He's also hitting the ball hard with an 84th percentile exit velocity and a 90th percentile barrel rate, so he's obviously still got the potential to be a very good hitter. The swing and miss is still there. The ceiling is high, the floor is low. Byron Buxton, number 9 you go. You can call me Edgar Allan Poe. Did he write poems? I don't think so. Number 8 is Jack Suwinski, representing the Pittsburgh Pirates. Just imagine if Kyle Schwarber could play good defense in center field. That would be a pretty good player, right? Well, that is essentially Jack Suwinski. Just like Schwarber, he walks a lot, strikes out a lot, but most importantly, barrels the ball when he does make contact. He had a 94th percentile barrel rate in 2024. He does struggle a lot against lefties, just like Kyle Schwarber, as he had a 68 WRC plus against them last year. That's why I can't really go much higher than this, because really, he's only going to be good against righties, and he is very good against righties, and that's what he's going to be facing most of the time, so I have him here at number 8. Jack Suwinski, still young, athletic, power bat. What's not to like? Number 7 is Jung Ho Lee for the San Francisco Giants. He's like the Luis Ariz of the KBO. He doesn't strike out, hits a lot of singles, but he also hits for some decent power as well. Unlike Ariz, he plays good defense. Now obviously, there is a chance that it doesn't completely translate to Major League Baseball, which is why he isn't in the top 5. If it does completely translate and he's good in the MLB as he was in the KBO, then he'll easily be a top 5 center fielder, but of course, we can't make that assumption. There isn't really much else to talk about with him. We have no Major League numbers to talk about here. Just gotta see what happens at this point, but I think he's gonna be pretty good. Number 6 is James Altman for the Los Angeles Dodgers. Altman is pretty much just an upgraded Jack Sawinski. He plays much better defense, maybe a little bit worse on offense, but still the same archetype of a player. Lots of strikeouts, lots of walks, but a lot of hard contact. He put up a 4.4 WAR season in his rookie year, so obviously he's doing something good. I don't think he's really going to repeat that 4+ WAR season based on his underlying numbers, but I don't think he really has to. He's still going to be good for the Dodgers in center field. Number 5 is Michael Harris from the Atlanta Braves. He's good both offensively and defensively. Last season, he was in the 89th percentile in fielding run value and in the 92nd in 2022. On offense, he isn't some huge slugger, but he is an above-average hitter. His biggest weakness would be him chasing too many pitches. He has a 6th percentile chase rate and a 4th percentile walk rate. Obviously, that's going to limit his offensive ceiling. His strikeout rate is good, though, and he makes a lot of contact. He makes solid contact too with an average exit velocity in the 75th percentile. His expected numbers are also very good with a 98th percentile expected batting average and an 85th percentile expected slugging. Harris is already a top 5 center fielder in the league and he's only going to be 23 years old when the season starts, so obviously the future is very bright for Michael Harris and the Atlanta Braves. Number 4 is Luis Robert for the Chicago White Sox. In his 4th season, he finally recorded over 100 games played, and it looks like it was well worth the wait. On the offensive side, he's very power-oriented. He doesn't care about taking walks or striking out a lot. He chases a lot of pitches with his chase rate being in the 3rd percentile. He does barrel the ball up often with a 93rd percentile barrel rate and a 91st percentile expected slugging percentage. He's also one of the better defenders regardless of position, as he put up a fielding run value in the 96th percentile last season. He has really good range in the outfield to go along with a good arm. He's only going to be 26 years old as well, so the future is looking good for Robert. Not much else to say. Number 3 is Mike Trout representing the Los Angeles Angels. Don't get me wrong, Trout's one of the greatest players of all time, but he's going to be 32 years old this year. Age is obviously catching up to him. Just to put into perspective how good of a career Mike Trout has put together, last season was his worst season of his career by far. His 134 WRC plus that he put up was the lowest in his 12-year career, with the second lowest being 160 in the shortened COVID season. Not as good as he once was. Defensively, he's not that great, but still solid. The underlying numbers are still very good. Still walks a lot, still hits the ball hard, very consistently. It's really just about staying on the field at this point, and I think everyone already knows that. Number 2 is Julio Rodriguez of the Seattle Mariners. If we're talking about pure talent, Trout's probably a little bit better, but Julio's floor is much higher. 5.4 WAR his first season, 5.9 WAR his second season. He's almost a true 5-tool player. The hit tool is a little questionable. Hit tool meaning plate discipline and ability to make consistent contact. That is a little shaky, but he makes up for it in other areas. His walk and strikeout rates aren't the best. He chases a lot of pitches as well with an 8th percentile chase rate. The defense is top tier. The power is top tier. The base running is top tier. This guy's a franchise talent, and he's going to be leading the Mariners for the next decade. We all know who Julio Rodriguez is. And finally, at number 1, I have Aaron Judge. He's one of the best hitters to ever play the game. I'm going to list all the things that he's in the 100th percentile in, meaning he's either the best in the league or very close. Expected WOBA, expected slugging, average exit velocity, barrel rate, hard hit rate, and walk rate. Every single one of those metrics, he's in the 100th percentile. Oh, and he's also above average on defense. People can rag on him for the strikeouts, but it really doesn't matter at all. I don't care. He struggled with injuries in the past. Last year, of course, he was out for a good portion of the year, but that was kind of a freak injury running into the wall, so that one isn't really a knock on his durability. Judge is a top 3 player in the league, and in 2024, with Shohei Ohtani not pitching, I would say he's probably going to be the best player going into 2024, one of the best players in the league, and he's going to be number 1. That's it for the ranking. Here's the full list. You can pause it if you want to review. Thank you for watching. I'll see you with the right fielders next. Goodbye.